show you guys a box squat variation. It's something that I use for people that just, their body doesn't understand how to use the hips in a squat. When people say that the squat feels a great butt, generally they're wrong unless you have a great squat pattern to begin with. So half of the population uses their hips to squat and half of the population uses their knees to squat. And if you're a hip squatter, generally that doesn't translate very well into actually learning how to use your hips. So I'm going to show you how to figure out how low you should squat to begin with, because that's pretty much primary. And then I'll show you some variations on a box squat that actually help use the glutes to begin with. So to test how low you should squat, you're going to go onto the floor in an all fours position. Point your toes up or dorsiflex them. Make sure that you've got a flat back so that's not too arched, definitely not rounded, but you've got it fairly neutral. Now knees can be close, medium, wide, and that's something to really mess around with. So my knees can be narrow, my feet can be narrow, and I can try a squat like that, trying to keep my back flat. The second that I go here and it tucks under, that's the depth of my squat. I should go up another couple inches until I have a flat spine. Then I'm going to look at my hip crease versus my knees. If I flip that, that means that I can squat to about parallel or just below parallel. Now, if I can keep a flat back all the way to the end range, then fine, that means that I can squat ass to grass. Okay, that's fine. Most people can't and shouldn't. It may be better with my knees wide, my toes more narrow. Maybe that gives me a more fluid squatting motion. So play around with your knees versus your toes. Maybe that's the same, maybe it's narrow, maybe it's wide, maybe it's knees out, heels in. Toes are always up. So when you figure out what path travels the most fluid, where there's no pain, no pinching in the hips, I'm going to shoot back. As soon as my back kind of gives a little bit, I stop. So my hip is about 2 inches below my knee. I have a flat back. So that tells me that my box squat is, and I know this, is going to be roughly about 14 inches. That's my best box squat. Now, say if you do the rocking squat and you feel a flat back and it goes right away, and that's maybe above parallel. That means whatever you're squatting onto is going to have to be raised up. So how you do that is, you take a box, place a plate, or another plate. I prefer to use an Eric's pad or something padded, not that you have to. And I'm going to squat down onto the box. Now, for me, I know that, so this is parallel for my height, but I knew that I could go 2 inches below this. So if I can go 2 inches below this on a box squat, then that tells me that I'm going to get rid of this bomber plate. Okay? So now this gives me a neutral spine in a very loaded box squat position. If I'm to go lower than that, I start feeling pinching in the hips and a little bit of tucking of my pelvis. Not to say that I can't work for that, I can and I probably should, but that means that I'm definitely not going to be squatting below this. Whether I use a box or not, I'm not going to squat any lower because that's going to force me to collapse. Now, teaching it, I would prefer if somebody erred on the side of caution and made it so that it was an easy neutral spine landing. Now, a few cues. Let's come up in the front. So, remember what I said about playing around with the stance? Some people do better narrow, so I can squat in a narrow stance. Some people do better wide. Okay, so they're here. I tend to be better heels in, toes out a little bit, so my heels are more narrow than my knees. That tends to give me the best action in and around the hips, but also in the spine. So, what I'm looking for is the knees to push out, not necessarily roll my ankles, but the weight in the side of my feet, and my butt to stick out, my inner thigh. I gotta find inner thigh. If I'm gonna work outer thigh, I'm gonna land as soft as possible. If you get here and plop, you're not using your hamstrings. Your hamstrings are meant to absorb. So, weight's always in the heel, I don't care what squat it is. Open, land as soft as you can. Now to get up, don't shift knees forward and knee extend. I want to go down, down, open, and shoot back last second, which lets me squeeze and finish the hip about the same time I finish the knee, and that's what goes wrong. I know somebody is using their hip or their knee based on which one walks out first. So if I'm here and I've got the perfect squat, and I go here, and the first thing that happens, I lock my knees, and I haven't finished my hips. You use your quads, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we're trying to use a hip-dominant squat. So, to a fault, I'm going to shoot the hips back, open. The back of my pant here is going to lead in through a finishing of the hips almost before my knee. The perfect squat has the two of them finish at the same time. Now, I want to add something to that. I'm going to take a band. You can put this in a bunch of different positions. You can put it above the knee. Technically, I prefer it just below the knee on the top of the calf. Okay? Now, what that's doing is that's causing valgus or knee caving. I have to work my adductors, to tear that apart. I'm trying to keep the outside of this band as wide as my ankle joint. Now, and I still open, land softly, immediately squeeze the glute, finish the hip, maybe slightly before my knee. I open, shoot back. My arms are used as a counterbalance, and then I squeeze. I open. Okay? Whatever you do, it's never a closing of the body. It's never a straight down in a box squat. It's always an open and back and squeeze to get up. Okay? So, if when you're squatting, you feel nothing but lower back. If when you squat, it doesn't build your butt. If when you squat, you don't feel your hamstrings activating. If when you squat, the knees cave in. If everything goes wrong, box squat. Okay? Go through the video again, try your rocking squat, throw a brand on the knees if you're feeling like your glutes aren't doing the work.